Alright, what's good, John? Today we're reacting to the most worst fandoms in the entire world. And this one's apparently number one, but yeah, let's get into it because I don't got much time. I gotta go
What
to
if I
bed soon.
told you, somewhere among the annals of recent internet history, there lies a fandom so hilariously awful
Badass?
that it might be the worst out there? That's right, worse than furries, worse than bronies, and definitely worse than Roblox transfer games.
Ain't no way they worse than bronies and furry. Ain't no way they worse than bronies and fairy. What is this? Somebody actually made this? Bro, what? It's just kids, man. They just kids, though. Yo!
Yeah, all of what you just
Yo!
saw is based off of real Loud House fan art. And yeah,
Yo!
it does get worse than this. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to your guided tour of the most degenerate fandom on the internet.
Okay, that's actually a little bit... It's a little bit crazy, I'm not gonna lie. What's going on? I don't confused. People getting
Oh,
killed.
yeah, by the way, just join the Discord if you want to get sneak peeks and other fun things related to future videos. Or don't, I don't really blame you. In the beginning, there was Chris Savino, a veteran animator and a guy who couldn't control his urge to share his pleasure of working with some of his employees. Until he got caught up sharing his pleasure of working with some of his employees. But, really quickly, let's back up a little bit. The Loud House stars Lincoln, an 11-year-old little menace who lives with his 10 older and younger sisters. Man, I wonder how the internet took this one.
That's actually crazy.
The show dropped in 2016 to pretty high praises, being the first time its host channel, Nickelodeon, actually gave a shit about another cartoon since SpongeBob, but has since fallen off to say the least.
That's true.
Today,
Oh,
you're
going
going to be
sexual.
taken on a journey through the disgusting underbelly of the Loud House, its fandom, to see what hell truly lies beneath. We're going to be discussing why the show has become host to such an awful fandom, as well as some of the art and literature created surrounding the show. Then,
I know
I'll be
these
diving
people
into
are
the darker
nasty.
corners of the
Oh
fandom,
my
the
God.
evils it has spawned through the contents of the original show. So, if you're prepared enough to handle it, let's
I
begin.
think I am. I
Entering
think
the
I think
first
we're ready. I
circle
think
of
we're ready.
fandom
I think
hell,
we're ready to watch
Limbo.
this. Limbo.
But really quickly, we have to do Two-Buck Troop roll call. Unusual, Sharps, Brazel, Yellow, Primiar, Taboo TV Cat, Mask, VR, 2, Frisk, Andy, Rupert, and Limper here today. Enlist in the Two-Buck Troop by using the link in the description.
In Limbo, we're going to discuss the relatively benign things this fandom partakes in,
Yo,
as well
what?
as why it has gotten so big in the first place.
They can't have
The
done
fandom has
nothing this
essentially
bad.
spread its wings
can't
over
be that
multiple
bad.
platforms since
Maybe
its
they'll just,
inception, and isn't always awful. Anyways, the nicer parts of the fandom are usually found in more public spaces like Twitter. DeviantArt, kinda, where there are actual moderation teams and people who don't like seeing... Usually, most fan art at worst involves creepy self-inserts, but usually is redrawn scenes from the show or putting the characters in new places. That should be about it for Limbo, so let's descend into the next circle.
Whoa. Okay.
For some reason, there's a large portion of this fan art community that is a strong
Oh
affinity for
my
drawing the main
gosh.
character, Lincoln, and his sisters in, let's just call them sensual situations. Of course, it gets worse than this.
Yo,
but
ain't no
surprising
way.
amount of safe word
Ain't no
art that
way.
really
I mean, I'm not
skirts the
Rule
line between
34.
sibling love and incest love. On top of this, there's a whole other side of this art community I'll be showing later. To give you a taste, remember the intro I spent 4 days animating and editing? Yeah, that barely scratches the surface. The Loud House core art community is booming. Lori Loud in a horrific car accident here, Lincoln Loud undergoing chemotherapy there, everyone in the Loud family crying.
Is that Professor House?
With horrific injuries over here, etc., etc. I won't lie, it's kind of funny, literally just because of how absurd it is. But then again, there's an entire community of people out there who draw images of 9-year-old cartoon kids getting into bloody and traumatic accidents. Like imagine if a show like Bluey had a community like this. I don't want to get too carried away. There's enough of this shit to make an entire ass section going over something.
Oh, God.
Anyways, the next section is one of the most mind-blowingly hilarious things I've ever shown on this channel, and I think you'll agree.
In the sandbox, you can make
even the ads are weird. Bro.
When we think of the long-winded epics of fiction, one's mind usually points towards the Epic of Gilgamesh, Homer's Odyssey, War and Peace, or Chris Chan's biography. However, what if I told you the longest work of fiction ever written is a Loud House self-insert fanfiction that has, count them with me, 16,777,215 words at the time of writing. And believe it or not, it's still being updated regularly, with the most recent edition being from 21 hours ago as of writing this.
Jeez.
No, this section is not meant to bully the creator of his work. I just want to show a particularly amusing part of the fandom that I think really furthers the idea of how insane the whole thing is. Mr. James Dean 5842 is the creator of this masterwork.
James Dean.
Young and naive age
James Dean is actually 36.
He also makes sure to specify he never accepts
bad
opinions, bad criticism, racial slurs, and hateful comments, which is fair, I guess. I'm sure he's gotten no shortage of those since he began writing this 2,000 chapter epic. Anyways, let's go over part of the story. The story begins with our, at the time, 30-year-old protagonist moving in with his family into their multi-million-dollar mansion in Royal Woods, Michigan. Fortunately for JD here, he bumps into the guy that starts the whole story, Lincoln. He introduces this mysterious man to his entire ass family, and of course he then naturally...
People are actually writing scripts for this?
Because why not? All the
There's no way!
Talking to JD.
They're writing full-page scripts!
Why, thank you.
I feel like I'm watching an AI interact with itself, but, you know.
There's no way
discovered
this
the
is
author has
possible!
all of a sudden decided to spawn an 11th sister named Lainey who likes to paint and shit.
Bro, they're making characters
full name
too!
thing that every other character in the family follows. He continues meeting the sisters one by one until he meets the 16-year-old sister, Lenny. He remarks, "You sure are pretty, Lenny." Alright. In each of the next chapters, he proceeds to awkwardly insert himself into actual episodes from the show.
No
In the second
way.
chapter, he makes sure to let us know that although he is 30 in real life, he is 15 in the fanfiction. A 30-year-old man role-playing as a 15-year-old alongside a bunch of underage girls. What could possibly go wrong? Okay, I'm reading this a bit further, and at some point he inserted Ed, and Eddie, and now they all hang out at Lincoln's house. He also has this segment where they view into an alternate gender-bended version of the Loud House where, and I quote, "We saw Lynn Sr. and Rita's counterparts crying as the older boys were taken away in police cars and the younger boys were taken away by
This
child
dude is
protection
actually
services."
vile. This
What?
is vile.
Anyways, skipping ahead
That is
1900
actually
chapters,
vile.
there's a
I'm
single
not
recognizable
even-
character left other than
Yo.
the author and an occasional Loud
He's
sister.
like, he
They visit all
spent
kinds of other cartoons, from
36
Dexter's
years, a
Lab
good
into the
15
Spider-Verse
years
and
of your
Total
lifespan making
Drama
this.
Island, the Redonkulous Race. And, like I said, it still continues on to this very day.
I ain't even
with
15
most of the recent
years,
chapters
man.
alone
Could
having
10
multiple thousands of words. For
Seven-
context, in 2018,
7
the
years
story
ago?
had
7 years ago?
180 chapters, and in 2021, it had 1,300 chapters.
Bro,
In
trying to be
2
like,
years,
oh, no, for real.
This guy's written another 7.5 million words and 850 chapters.
Bro,
And what
literally
exactly are you
he's trying to
doing
go
with your
back.
life?
He's trying to go band for band
Shit,
with
man,
Oda
read
right
my
now.
boy James Dean 5842 to finish up Hunter x Hunter. When you think of notoriously bad fan art, what do you think of? My Little Pony? I mean, yeah, you're not entirely wrong, but is it a core staple of that fandom to show bizarre sexual tension between siblings? Yeah, I don't think so. What about Bluey? Is it common for that fandom to produce gruesome images, imagining small children being deathly ill or fatally injured? Yeah, not really. With the Loud House fandom, you get this much and sometimes more, but we'll get into that part later. For now, we'll discuss the art that is often created by viewers who just wish to show their adoration for the children living in the Loud
Ain't no
family.
freaking
As
way.
we know, fan art is a controversial concept within many communities, often because those who draw them are not very in touch with basic morality, to say the least. There's a reason the next 3 parts are dedicated to Loud House fan art. I want to prove to you, the viewer, that this fandom may be the worst major community on the internet. Coming from an admittedly poorly made article by AminoApps.com, we can take a look at some of the most vile yet apparently safe for work things the fandom has created. Here, we see a precursor to the images we're going to be purely discussing in the last part. The person who drew this believes so much in the bond between two 11-year-olds, they drew them snuggling in bed.
No freaking way! There's no way!
Menacingly standing over them.
There's no freaking way! There's no way!
Children in for their own amusement. With this image showing Lincoln's 15-year-old sister pissed drunk off of beer and vomiting in a dirty alleyway. Like, how the fuck do people come up with this?
There's no
Like,
way!
I won't lie, in a moral way it's kind of funny, but that's just because of how purely absurd it is. Some more lovely art comes from Pinterest.
There's no
Again,
freaking way this is real.
Boy in a provocative situations. Seriously, just let my boy play Roblox and watch Skibidi toilet videos. My God. This one shows him being affectionately hugged by Lori's 17-year-old friend, and I don't think she loves him like a brother. There's actually a shocking amount of art between these two specifically for some reason. Here's one of them holding hands and blushing while sitting on a couch. Lori's friend literally.
Bro, this ain't good.
Is this some kind of like mommy issue projection? Here's another one of that girl Ronnie Ann in booty shorts. Here's one of Lori's friend forcefully kissing Lincoln. Here's one where Lincoln is romantically laying with his sister's lesbian girlfriend. Here's one where Lori is kissing Lincoln. And I'm getting ahead of myself.
Oh my
What kind of
gosh!
rabbit hole we're in for? And this is just
It's just a bunch of incest. Literally, it's just a bunch of
This
incest.
kind of psycho shit. But if you can believe it, we've only just skimmed the surface.
Bro, my
Opera GX.
body might
Trying
not
to play
be able
a
to
game while you're
finish this
watching your
video.
favorite YouTuber on the side, and then boom, your game.
But my body might not be able to finish this video. I'm not gonna get my body. It's like it's telling me to like
Violence
stop,
is probably the most literal
turn this
of all the
off,
circles
and go
we
to
yet
sleep.
discuss. If you weren't aware, people in the Loud House fandom seem to have an affinity for placing its characters into sad and depressing situations.
Jesus,
often depicting them as deathly ill, morally wounded, dead, etc. Again, tell me another community that has such a unique issue. To give some more perspective, imagine if there was a large community of people who drew fan art of the backyardigans featuring Pablo being dropped into a pit of wooden spears. That's what I mean by how insane all this is. Taking a look at this Reddit post where someone has the same question I bet all of you, including myself, are having, we get an answer from this user. Quote, biggest reason behind sad Loud House stuff is a pair of ultra poorly received episodes, Brawl in the Family and No Such Luck, which generally trigger the fan base to hold a grudge against the Loud family and seek to comfort themselves by imagining incredibly angsty situations where Lincoln disowns his own family, runs away, abuses them back, what have you.
Dude,
Generally,
who's
none of
writing
that
this?
either, because I get the impression most people making this art actually want to evoke sympathy and pity for all involved. The writer continues by saying how this is apparently not an issue unique to the Loud House and shouldn't be seen as such. Although there's some credence to be lended to what the writer is saying here, I simply can't buy the fact that this is Loud House fans secondhand trauma dumping by drawing some child and sibling abuse in paint.net. On top of that, other kids shows that feature gore or trauma art, let's say SpongeBob for example, feature abstract representations of grown-ass adults, not realistic representations of actual people. It's the fact that so much of this art has been created, often not even featuring Lincoln, that leads me to believe this is just fanboy reasoning. It doesn't have a whole lot of basis behind it. To help illustrate my point, let me introduce you to a 27-chapter, 346,000-word fanfiction about Lincoln being diagnosed with a terminal fucking illness.
Okay, okay. You're cooked. You're cooked. You're cooked. I'm not turning to T-Banks for a second. You're cooked. Cause ain't no way you're spending that much time. Like I said before, they're trying to go band for band with Oda, and that's actually insane. That's actually insane. It's a damn child show. I don't know when the show even came out. Bro, what? Bro, that's you're vile. You're vile. This is vile. That's actually
Super Loud is
crazy.
a fan fiction written by some dude from Argentina who decided to write a PhD dissertation on diagnosing cartoon children with neurofibromatosis, aka a deadly brain tumor. I'll quickly skip this to spare you the ironically decent writing to give you the gist of what happened in this fanfiction. Chapter 1. Lincoln is out playing soccer with his sister, he collapses and has to go to the hospital. Chapter 2. He wakes up in the hospital, is visited by his family, but his parents kick his sisters out because they're being rowdy. Chapter 3. Lincoln's parents spend the night in the hospital with him, where they tell his sisters he has brain tumors because of an inherited genetic disease, and he's told he has 3 weeks to live. Chapter 4. Nothing happens, blah 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 something. Chapter 27. Consummatum est, which means it is finished in Latin. Wow. Lincoln talks to his family and says he loves them and then falls asleep and dies. Apparently the Loud House fandom ate this shit up because even before researching this video, I've actually heard whispers of it in various places. Anyways, let's move on to the visual art side of the fandom, where we can see scenes like this in vivid deviant art quality.
Oh
in this
my
image, we see the Loud
God.
family undergoing lots of suffering. It starts relatively
Bro,
minor with Lisa having a failed
what?
explosion or experiment, the twins getting into a fight, Lucy being sad, Lincoln breaking a stuffed animal, and then Lynn has a bent leg, Luana's having her reputation ruined. Hey, we've seen this one before. Luna has alcohol poisoning from binge drinking, Lenny's been stabbed by glass or something, and Lori's on the verge of death. Like, this guy made a medieval triptych version of Loud House fan art. We get to see all of them needlessly suffering for some reason. Wow, look at that! A fully realized reenactment of the pain and suffering experienced by the Loud family during Lincoln's final moments
There's
from
no
Requiem for a
freaking
Loud.
way this is
If we
real.
keep looking, we see Lincoln with fatal head trauma, Lincoln getting into a fatal car crash.
There's no
Lori,
way. There's
Lola
no way this
visiting
is
her regular
real,
twin
bro.
sister, and it
Please
just
tell me this
continues
is
on
fake.
forever. There's no end to the suffering this family experiences in various iterations upon the core show. Whatever conclusions you may reach about the show's fandom, though, we haven't even reached the bottom of the barrel yet. Stay tuned, where we'll be diving into how disgusting
Stay
the fandom
tuned.
can
There's
truly be in
more?
the supervised corners of the internet.
There's more? There's 20, bro. Got 5 more minutes left, bro. Ain't no
As of
way.
now, you, the viewer, are standing on the precipice of a terrifyingly deep pit of immorality and flat-out illegality. Before we take the jump, allow me to guide you along the edge of the canyon, giving you a hint of what's to come. If I haven't hinted at it enough, the art that many people in this fandom creates involves putting underage characters, sometimes even family members, in essentially tense environments. Let's go over how deep this rabbit hole travels into the various dark and gross corners the surface of this fandom has to offer. For an example of something actually official in the show, that even a distant observer would notice, is the strange relationship between Lincoln's 11-year-old friend, Clyde, and his own 17-year-old sister. And they actually kind of play it off as normal. Look, I don't know about you, but to write such a weird thing into a kid's show, especially with the creator himself being a woman toucher, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, they could have toned down the whole bloody nose thing, or at the bare minimum made this kid attracted to someone his own age. Like, shit, we don't need representation for most underage Twitter furries. Anyways, moving away from the official shit, all you have to do to enter the cesspool of art and fanfiction is by searching up, quote, Loud House ship. In the world of fandom, there are 3 categories here. 1.
That baby
show
gag.
fandom relationships. Obviously,
That
most of
baby
these are like
gag. I'm
actually
like, that
morally
baby
acceptable,
gag. I'm
like
like, that
characters
baby
dating
gag.
characters
That
their
baby
own age.
gag. I'm like,
Crazy,
okay.
right? Number 2, pudding. I shit you not. Specifically, one sister, Luann, with that random background character from a single episode into a lesbian relationship.
Bro, what?
Generically searching up Loud House ship yields so many results between these 2 characters. I was honestly dumbfounded. I figured, you know, eventually it'll stop. Nope,
Bro,
they just keep going.
what?
Number 3, shipping Lincoln with his own 13-year-old sister. Yeah, while also showing them as having kids. Again,
Dog, this is not real. There's no way.
The fan fiction side of things, there's no
There's
shortage
no
of content
freaking
involving more
way.
characters.
Okay, this fan
enjoying
base
each
need to be
other's company.
stopped.
Again, just look up
We need to
Loud
stop
House
this fan. No,
fiction.
we need
The
to
first
stop
result
this
is a
fan
story
base
called
now.
Shipping War.
Let's-
The author places a strong
We
emphasis
gotta
on
stop
puberty
them.
and its effects,
Bro,
and how he's now 13 years old, also making him irresistible to the other 13-year-old girls around him. Yeah, I don't know about you, it feels weird seeing what is probably an adult write about young teenagers experiencing romance, especially a kid's show. Basically, this whole thing turns out to be the equivalent of a harem anime, but written by a lonely adult man, so you can just about assume where that goes. Oh, we're not done yet, though. I've got one more story to torture you with. Here's another fanfiction called Ship Shape. Can you guess what this one's about? A story where Lincoln has some form of sensual or sexually tense interaction with almost every one of his sisters. Here's some
What?
extras if you're curious. Very funny, Lori, Lincoln called back. Put me down, he was blushing. Lori loved it when he blushed. Lori could tell his heart wasn't in it, however. His eyes were locked on her breasts, as they should be. Dude, she's 17 years old. Like, what do I even say about this? Lincoln agreed, unable to take his eyes off his bouncing sister.
Nah, go and get the SWAT team. Go and get the SWAT team. Matter of fact. Bro, somebody call the government, bro. We gotta get these guys exiled.
Specifically the parts that
Matter
were
of fact,
about
get
them.
Kanye.
And
Get
then we can
Kanye
ask-
over here.
Again, bro, this girl is 16 talking to her 11-year-old brother.
Yeah, go and
Speaking
get
of,
Kanye.
Later in the story, we get these bone-chilling
So we
words.
can exile these
Little
people.
help,
We
Link?
gotta
Luna
exile.
asked. Feels like I'm not doing it right. Just put your arms around my waist. All right, what's next? What? I don't even want to do this one. Here, AI Mark Zuckerberg, read this one for me.
At 14 years old, Lola Loud looked like she had been purposefully constructed to be the first thing to show up when jailbait was entered into a search engine, a fact that had aided the FBI countless times without her knowledge, contrasted sharply with the shapely hips and full breasts that were commonly enjoyed by the women of the Loud family.
I think I've given enough examples, and I'm sure you're done listening
Bro,
to this.
ain't
but
no
if
way.
you've forgotten,
Nah.
then let me remind you.
Nah.
This is the surface of what's to come.
No.
So, if you want to get even darker, stay tuned, and we'll be staring the devil right in the face.
Okay, it can't get any worse than that.
Mobile
It
games
can't
are
get
going
any
big with
worse than
Google
that.
Play
I'll be honest.
games.
That
Battle it out.
it might be a little something. It can't be nothing worse than that.
You can
I
probably
think we're
already
good
guess
now.
what I've been alluding towards this whole video. If you haven't realized it yet, the Loud House fandom has created a large volume of inappropriate images involving children, often combining themes of abuse, among other things. This side of the fandom doesn't hold back either, including all of the sisters and other kids in the town from ages 17 years old to 15 months.
I mean, I'm not surprised about that part.
I don't think you need to even see blurred examples as proof,
Yeah,
nor do I really want to
already
see those
people are
images
crazy.
either, but to give you some context on how bad this is, let's play a game of numbers.
Can't-
On a website dedicated to a certain internet rule, searching the Loud House yields a grand total of 7,500 results. A children's show comprised primarily of children, with 7,500 NSFW images of it produced. On another website I discovered while doing my searches that I will not name due to the entire point of the website being underage art, there are 16,000 results. I cannot stress to you how big of a thing this is in the fandom, and while it may not be the majority of people with
16,000?
the sheer volume of these works is not few enough to just ignore. If the few and the proud within the Loud House fandom end up seeing this video, I can almost guarantee the argument about it being a small part of the fandom that we do not agree with will come up. And while you may not be wrong in the objective sense, the fact this type of art is so voluminous compared to other fandoms is the true issue here. Just like that Reddit guy mentioned SpongeBob, let's see how the volume of SpongeBob NSFW art compares to the Loud House. On the first website I mentioned,
There's
the number sits around 3,000.
16,000
That means
results.
that a show, in total, that has existed for 3 times longer and has a consumer base of billions, has less than half the artwork of a show that's been around for 7 years and is
24
primarily made for an
years.
American audience. To reiterate, it's more of a macro scale trend thing than on an individual scale. Remember, this video is about the fandom as a whole, so I've covered it as a whole. This video isn't meant to discuss the inner workings of Loud House internet politics and to discuss the nuance of a misunderstood fandom or something. And although I understand very well this type of stuff the general fandom doesn't tolerate,
Y'all
I'm
are
making a
cooked.
video
Y'all
to bring
cooked.
awareness
Y'all
of this
cooked.
kind of
We're
stuff.
cooked. Y'all, I
Since
mean,
based
what
on
am I
my
saying?
research,
We're
only a
cooked.
select
Y'all
few
are
cartoon
cooked.
YouTubers have
Dude, I
discussed
mean,
this
it's
fandom in
cooked.
any
They're
sort of
cooked.
depth, usually
They're
staying
not
on the surface
all.
of the fandom.
It's there
And I
in
know this
in
is
the
a
main
wild
brain.
time to plug, but if you want to see content where I venture to and discuss places where most YouTubers wouldn't even think about venturing to, drop a sub and share the video around so more people can learn about what happens behind the scenes in the Loud House fandom. To most, The Loud House is a fairly average show about growing up in a big family, with all of them learning how to treat people with kindness and respect. But peek behind the veil and you'll see much more than what you expected to. Weird fan fiction, art, and borderline illegal content that is readily accessible to anyone with the ability to type on a keyboard.
Yo.
Fortunately though, I think a lot of things to talk about. I have some ideas for the next iteration of Fallen Fandoms, but I'll let you guys decide when that time comes. Anyways, thanks for suffering through this video with me, and I'll see you in the next one.
Bro, my heart is feeling some type of weird. I feel the amount of cringe that I got from that. Oh my god! I think I need to take a nap. I gotta take a nap. I gotta take a nap. I gotta take a nap. I don't. I might bleach my eyeballs. I don't know. That's bad. That was bad. That was horrible. I'm going to bed. Peace out, y'all. If I can sleep. If I can. If.
Cryptic